Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this breaking news story. I'm Anderson Maddow, famed journalist and turkey baster success story. We now go live to the conference room at the White House for my one-on-one interview from quarantine here in New York with President Trump and the COVID-19 virus task force.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus.
Yes, Mr. President, quick question. With the current climate and racial disparities in our country, how would you describe comments like the Chinese virus when describing COVID-19?
Not very nice to do, I can tell you, because I did it.
And Mr. President, what would you say is your overall opinion of COVID-19 and the spread of the virus so far?
It can do a lot of good things if we need it, and we will have it all completed.
I'll be honest, I don't really know if I understood any of what you just said. But my next question is what is the United States government doing to help protect its American citizens?
The FEMA now is fully engaged at the highest levels.
Mr. President, on a 1 to 10 scale, what level of understanding do you really have about this virus? 10 being the most, 1 being an absolute idiot.
At level 1.
All right, let's just ask a question that I'm hoping you have an answer to. Just name 5 states. Just any 5 states.
Tennessee and Alabama and Tennessee.
Aha, you said Tennessee twice. Let's move along to an easier question. We're running out of hospital beds. What are we going to do about it?
The 2 hospital ships are being prepared right now.
And could you describe these ships for us so we can get a better idea of what we're talking about?
Big white ships with the Red Cross on the sides.
While I appreciate the color description of the ships, I think the American people are hoping for information in regards to how many additional beds and the equipment that would be available on the ship. But let's move along. My next question for you is, what is President Trump's plan of action for COVID-19?
We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be potentially very exciting.
If I could just take a moment with the homophobic vice president, I would like you to confirm or deny the level at which Trump understands the severity of COVID-19 in the United States.
Level 1.
Also, while I have you, Vice President Pence, a quick question on your plan to put all gays in concentration camps. My primary concern is how are you going to identify all the gays in the United States?
We're increasing the number of tests being performed by the thousands every day. People without symptoms should not get tested. We want to make sure that the supply of testing is there for those that need it most or are symptomatic or in the vulnerable population. Dr. Deborah Birx in a moment will address the progress that we're making on testing, the infection rate, our recommendations to every America, as well as some important new findings about the impact on youth.
What the fuck are you talking about? And secondly, if we could test for it, that would have been really useful for me when I was in high school. Do you think it's contagious?
I want to remind every American of the President's 15-day guidance to slow the spread.
While there's nothing I love more than talking to old white men, I would love to talk to Dr. Elizabeth Warren's sister about what she does.
So, we continue to look at data every single day.
And Dr. Elizabeth Warren's sister, who would you say has the highest likeliness of surviving this outbreak?
Children, the millennial generation, our largest generation, our future. It's a rare occurrence. It may be seen more frequently in that group.
And Dr. Elizabeth Warren's sister, you had mentioned the other day in the news conference that the only thing that millennials offered was advice on playing video games. Could you elaborate?
I didn't realize that you could go from level 3 to level 7. That's what they've taught us. They look for things that we don't see.
And Dr. Elizabeth Warren's sister, could you give us your professional opinion on what would occur if Trump wins the 2020 election?
A disastrous outcome.
And returning to a previous question I had for President Trump and Vice President Pence, what percentage of understanding do you think this administration has on the current situation in our country?
Under 4%.
Your boss is right over there. Do you want to rethink your answer at all?
about a 7+%. I think that's encouraging to me personally.
And I see you waving your hand wildly in the back. Middle-aged white man, please step forward. What would you like to say?
We're all in this together.
This next question is for you, President Trump. Are you looking at the science at all when it comes to COVID-19?
But no, we don't look at that at all.
Well, Mr. President, that's absolutely fascinating to hear. My next question is about the crisis of toilet paper. What advice do you have Americans who are unable to wipe their ass?
There's never been an instance like this where no matter what you have, it's not enough.
Mr. President, people across the world are now referring to your presidency as Hurricane Trump. Any comments?
It snuck up on us, and it did 128 countries. I think it's in something like that, very close to that. Think of that. So it spreads violently.
Mr. President, when it comes to analyzing COVID-19, there are a lot of statistics involved, and one of the concerns of the American people is your understanding of numbers. So my question to you is, how many numbers do you actually know?
With a lot of numbers, a lot of very big numbers, and a lot of very small numbers, frankly.
Let's get more specific. How about the number 64, or 98, or 1,622?
Every number that you mentioned, yes, we've talked about those numbers. We're also moving those numbers in both directions.
And Mr. President, with all the information that you have, in your opinion, how many Americans are eventually going to be infected with the COVID-19 virus?
Millions and millions of millions of millions of millions of millions of people.
Mr. President, with the 2020 election right around the corner, we are well aware that most of your supporters are racist, homophobic, and misogynistic members of our society. What do you have to say to them?
We don't want them gathering, and I see they do gather, including on beaches and including in restaurants, but they don't realize that they can be carrying lots of bad things home to grandmother and grandfather and even their parents. They're feeling invincible, so they've been fantastic. I mean, they've been great.
And Mr. President, two final questions. First one, if you win the election this coming November, what can the American people look forward to?
A level of death like people haven't seen before. Last question.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to have the last question. And this is one of the ones that is on the minds of millions of Americans every day. How big are your hands?
Massive.